Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last panel of the day. I hope you had a great day so far. So in this last panel, we're going to discuss regarding success stories of participants from the previous job fair. And of course, to discuss regarding students that came in Luxembourg and they work now in the private equity sector. So Luis?
Yes, well, and for that, we have with us three very different and interesting profiles. We have Irene, who is working in one of our full members in a Luxembourg-based GP, and is actually speaking from Milan right now. We have with us also Afonso, a new recruit at EY, that is can share with us how is it like the first days of joining a Big Four. And we also have Thomas, who on top of being a PE lawyer in Luxembourg, he's also a professor in Maastricht University, and has a close contact with students that come to Luxembourg. But better than me introducing yourself, I'll ask you to share some few words about you, your path. Who are you? Where are you coming from? Your background. Let's start by Irene.
Hello, everyone. As Luis said, thank you, Luis. My name is Irene Prota, and I am Italian. That's why I'm speaking from Milan, and I'm 26 years old. Actually, I've always had a quantitative and analytical attitude and approach to life and to everything. So it's explain why I had a high school scientific diploma. Later on the diploma, I decided to move to Rome, where I attended actually the economics and business bachelor at Guido Carli University. And during the studies, I had the awesome opportunity to meet the most interesting people, most interesting teachers, and to be part also of an Erasmus program. So during the last year of the bachelor, I spent 6 months in Utrecht, that is in the Netherlands, where I actually experienced a new way of learning that is very difficult, very different from the Italian one. And I had, for the first time, actually the chance to live abroad as a foreigner. And I also discovered the beauty of the Netherlands. If I can add something else, after the bachelor, then I started the master in finance in Rome as well, at Guido Carli. And it has been a very quantitative master. It was deeply focused on probability, mathematics, economics. And during that years, I've got another great experience, actually, because I spent 4 months in São Paulo, in Brazil, working for KPMG. But I think this will be the next question. So I give the floor to Afonso and Thomas.
Thank you, Irene.
You're welcome.
Afonso.
Thank you, Irene, for sharing. Very interesting. So my name is Afonso, as Luis introduced. I am Portuguese. I'm 20 years old. And so a little bit about myself, how I got here. I studied in Luxembourg at the international school for about 7 years. So I would say I gained a little bit of an international perspective in that sense from the school and also just from living in Luxembourg. Then after that, I decided I wanted to keep studying in English rather than going back to my own country. So I went to the Netherlands, where I studied international business administration at the Rotterdam School of Management. I really enjoyed it. Netherlands is also a very welcoming place for foreign students, and it was quite a challenging course as well. And now, before I continued to go for my master's, I decided I wanted to take, let's say, a gap year to figure out a little bit better what I want to do for my master's and gain a little bit of work experience. And so I attended the LPEA job fair last year, and currently I'm starting my internship at EY Luxembourg, as Louise mentioned. So yeah.
Thank you, Afonso. And you, Thomas?
Hi everyone, my name is Thomas. First of all, thanks for having invited me to this very interesting panel. And maybe also to everyone out there, if you have questions also afterwards and you want to contact me, feel free to contact me. I'm always happy to respond to any questions. To my background, so I'm a director at Wilton, which is one of the top 10 law firms here in Luxembourg. and I'm also teaching at Maastricht University. And background-wise, well, I'm German by origin, did my high school in Germany, and then I moved to Maastricht in the Netherlands to study. I have basically 2 degrees. I have one in law and one more in political science. And after my studies, I actually did a PhD. That's why how I still am also connected to the university. I took this a little bit as a time for me to also have the possibility, I would say, probably to travel. So I wasn't only in Maastricht, I did my PhD in Maastricht as well, but I went as a visiting researcher to the US, to the Harvard Law School, to Oxford, and to the Sorbonne in Paris. And I think they were great experiences also just to see different kind of places, different kind of cities. And maybe to link this also to Luxembourg, and that's also one of the reasons, and this might be for some of you as well, how you basically come to Luxembourg. I worked for a law firm while I was a visiting researcher at the Sorbonne, and they were just opening up a branch in Luxembourg. And I had never considered, to be honest, working in Luxembourg before. It was a very good offer. So I was like, okay, let's take it. I moved to Luxembourg. I was a bit I didn't know Luxembourg very well, so I thought, well, it's probably a small city somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Let's see how this is going to be. Offer is great, job will be great, but let's also see how this is going to play out social wise. I wasn't very sure. I arrived. I moved into an apartment with an Italian guy and a Russian guy. And from day one, we had really the best time ever. So yeah, I think that's a bit the background I have. So that's already 8 years ago. I'm since 8 years in Luxembourg, and I still like it. I still like it very much. So yeah, that's my story.
Great story. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like just to remind to the people joining that they can ask their questions through the chat.
Shall we focus on the first job experience? Well, this one tailored mostly for Irene and Afonso. Well, you are both new to your jobs. So Afonso even fresher than Irene, who has been there for a few months. But again, what is most interesting is that you both got to know or had the first contact during the previous LPEA job fair back in March. So between expectation and reality, Hiren, what is your evaluation of joining a GP, very active in investing in startups and venture and fintech? What has been your experience as an investment analyst?
Okay, so I will start for the first, really first question that was regarding the first job experience. As I was saying before, actually, my first job experience has been in KPMG in Brazil. Actually, just the first day in Brazil, I actually didn't know how to say hello, how are you in Portuguese, but it has been very, very difficult at the beginning, but I was really surrounded by amazing people that helped me during my work life and my daily life, like as a whole. But apart from this, during my first job experience, I learned the most very simply and basic stuff that a stagist has to do, like organize folders, how to manage time, how to manage deadlines, how to use Excel and its shortcuts, and everything you need to know as a stagist. Regarding actually after I had another stage internship in Milan in Deloitte, so in another big four. I got 2 out of 4. Yes, actually I was in M&A team, so I worked really hard there, and on many company evaluation, company pitch, and company profiles. I did a lot of PowerPoint during that month. And so I started to grow up as an analyst, and I was in after this two internship experience, I joined Mazars, that is another consultancy company, where I was in the valuation team, and I improved my skills as an analyst, a financial analyst. Regarding the other question on the previous job fair, actually, yes, I was working for the last job in Mazars, as I said, when I attended the previous job fair. It was in March. And I actually didn't know what to expect from this job fair, because I didn't know anything about LPEA. I'm super sorry. It was in March of this year, and I remember I just wrote a couple of lines on myself and on my background, and then I shared it on all the panels, all the rooms I could. So many people maybe should have thought I was crazy, but actually at the end of the day, I had 3 interviews with 3 different companies, so it went very well. And one of that was with an investment fund called the Carvalho Capital, and in particular, I had the interview with Laurent, that is one of the funding partners. And actually, I think we both had a good first sight impression of each other. So after the first interview during the job fair, we had many other interviews also with Alan, that is the other funding partner. Then I have to solve a business case that they gave me, and they gave me a few days to accomplish it. And after that, I shared it with them, and we discussed about it. I don't want to go too long, so stop me if I'm too long.
No, I mean, that's interesting, because you're jumping to another question that we had about how was your experience with the fair.
Your onboarding
Yes.
process, yes.
And it's very interesting. And then what happened? Because you could also help us understand what is the job, the role of an investment analyst for people that are less familiar with it.
Yes, actually, what happened then, I think I remember that the whole process took around 3-4 months, because you have to consider all the interviews, the business case, and the moment at the end I signed the employment contract. So basically, I had the job fair in March, and I started working at Carvalho Capital in July 1st. So yeah, just 3-4 months more or less. Talking about my current experience as an investment analyst, yeah, actually, it's a very small investment fund, so it's just me. I'm the only employment, so employee. Sorry. I mean, I do the LP parts. I mean, we have to receive some funds from the limited partners, so we register all the limited partners, but on the other side we also invest in companies, in startups, so I have to do the whole due diligence on the startups, and I have to evaluate the companies. So yeah, I see the job from these 2 points of view. It is very interesting, I think.
Thank you. Afonso, your experience is different. You are in the onboarding process. Joining a Big Four comes always with a lot of training, and many people is involved, and everything is new. So, but let's do as Irene did. Let's start by your experience at the job fair. So how did you get that experience, and what is your impression from your first days?
Yeah, so starting with the job fair, I think I had a bit of a similar experience to Irene, I would say. I also didn't come into it with too many expectations. For me, it was also kind of a last minute thing that I heard about it. Actually, from Louise, I was lucky enough to hear about it just a couple of days before, actually, and I signed up. Yeah, went into it with not many expectations, as I said, and just an open mind. And during the fair, I was positively surprised by the amount of people that I was able to talk to by just going into different rooms. It was very easy to connect with employers. So yeah, I also I contacted a few, I tried to get in contact with a few recruiters, namely EY, obviously, KPMG, BGL. Obviously, I didn't get replies from all of them. But I mean, at that point, it was still good. I still had a little chat on the platform with them. You know, sent them my CV. So just try to be proactive, I guess. And then I actually didn't get a reply right away from any of them. And then a few weeks later, about 2 weeks later or so, I was contacted by EY saying that for actually the position that I wanted, which was a consultant, my curriculum wasn't quite there yet because also I don't have my master's yet. But that they were willing to consider me for an accounting internship, which is what I'm currently doing. And so the process started there. It took about a month and a half, I would say, in total, maybe 2 months with signing the contract and everything. But I only planned to start now around September, October, as I was still finishing my bachelor back then. So yeah, I had the opportunity, everything set already a few months early, which was, you know, really good, less stressful. And then, yeah, so I guess now speaking a little bit as to my first experiences that I've had, because it's really just been first experiences. So this is my first, let's say, real job experience in the sense that it's, you know, in the field that I'm interested in, you know, my first corporate experience at least. So far, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of information. I mean, as I assume most of you can imagine, such a big corporation as EY, with just in this period right now, there are, I think, about 50 to 60 other auditing interns coming in. So there's a lot of us. So, you know, there's 2 days to adapt to it. And now we kind of go through this process of just learning the auditing process. So everything is kind of systematic. You know, there's platforms, websites for everything. It is very well organized in that sense if you consider the number of people that they're taking in. So in that sense, they do try to be very, let's say, inclusive to, even though we're online, which is, you know, very tough to get to know other people and things like that. But for example, after this, I'm going to a social event with all of the interns. So it's been a good first week so far, from what I can speak on. And in terms of expectations, I think that was also mentioned before. So far, it's been, in a way, it's exceeded my expectations in the sense that I feel like there will be, you know, quite a lot of freedom in the job. It's basically just, as long as you get the job done, you know, in terms of hours, in terms of other things, you can kind of adapt to what you prefer. If you prefer to come in earlier, leave a bit later, because, you know, from what I understand, we're going to work mostly in projects. So it's really just about getting the job done. And also they are very aware that we're still interns in that sense. So it's one of the first things that they tell us, you know, if you have too much work, don't be afraid to say it, things like that. So that's also really great to see, because, you know, I did come in with a little bit of that idea. I feel like a lot of people that, you know, Big Four, you know, you're gonna work a lot, and I think most of us are ready for it. But at the same time, it's also good to see that these companies are still mindful, at least EY is still mindful of you know, of their employees' well-being and keeping it fair.
Thank you, Afonso. Would like to, you know, invite Thomas to this discussion. Thomas has a different perspective here. I'm sure you have been in contact with many young graduates or young professionals, let's call them, like Irene and Afonso. We met a few years ago, I can't precise when, in the context of the visits that you were organizing of students from your university to Luxembourg, which I must say, very good initiative of introducing them to different players of the market, from associations to law firms and investors, and I'm sure Big Fours too. And you still keep a strong connection with them, and I'm eager to collaborate again in future visits. Being a teacher of students that are outside of Luxembourg, and when you bring them to Luxembourg, are you opening a window to the perspectives they can find here? Can they take a good view on the different opportunities the Luxembourg financial market reserves, or do you focus more in alternatives? What is their perception of Luxembourg, and does it change when they finally come to Luxembourg?
Yeah, so I would say these excursions from my side, and maybe I can already also take a step back and just quickly say, so at Maastricht, I founded 4 or 5 years ago a course. It's the European Corporate Finance Law Excellence course, which is a very practical course, basically, which is there to provide students with, let's say, a sort of toolbox, which is very important when you start as a junior. Of course, now this is a new course, so this applies, of course, for students that study law. But I think there's often a little bit of a gap between university and university education and what you have to do later in the job, right? So you have to draft documentation, which you basically don't really learn in university. And basically, this course bridges a little bit the gap by less focusing, okay, what is the specific article in the law that says, but more, okay, we do an M&A transaction, private equity. How are we going to go about it? What are the documentations we need? What are the steps we need to take? And in this context, so it's very much geared for students to have an idea what they actually want to do later on, right? And I think an important part of this is also that they go out, for example, to Luxembourg, which is just a prime destination if you want to work in private equity, and that they actually see that they see the LPEA, that they see law firms, big fours, and can get a bit of a sense what they actually want to do later on in their life. And I would say Luxembourg is, and this applied, is the same what happened to me when I, a couple of years back. Luxembourg was not really on my radar at the beginning, because I think, I mean, let's be honest, if you think about a financial center, you think about London, you think about Paris, about Frankfurt, but I think Luxembourg is just, I would say, when I say the place to be, it's I'm overselling it a little bit, but I think nevertheless, in terms of opportunities you can get, I think Luxembourg is very good. And that is why I organize these visits with the students to Luxembourg, so that they can connect, for example, to the LPEA or to law firms, that they can also get in touch with the people working there actually, and not only hear from me my opinion on what Luxembourg is about, but also talk with young juniors that also just started, or partners or whatever, but just get their own sense of what they like, because there's a person that likes to work in London because it's a super big city, and then there's others that prefer something like Luxembourg, and I think everyone needs to find out at the end what one wants. And I think for that's great, because London, I think everyone has on the radar, Luxembourg a little bit less maybe, and then I think it's important to go out and show the people that this is a great place to work and to live as well.
Mm-hmm. Do they change their mind after coming in Luxembourg? Because as you said, there are more bigger cities. Do they change their minds afterwards?
Well, yes, but I would say in my course, I mean, to the extent that they know Luxembourg beforehand, right? So we have, like, my course works in a way that we have a lot of external speakers, so they would have already had directors and partners from Luxembourg basically doing workshops, so they know what Luxembourg is all about, and they can always ask questions to them already. But I think it's important that they come physically here and that they see themselves, that they can go through Kirchberg, or I don't know, see some, go out in the evening and simply see, okay, it's a great place. Again, not only I think in terms of work-life balance. If we compare it frankly to London, it's a great place, but I think the work-life balance will be much different than what it is in Luxembourg. And yeah, that there's great places, I think, in the evening to go out. That the quality of life is simply high. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people in my course where at the beginning they're reserved and like, yeah, no, I wanna rather go to London, or I mean, you could even go further away, right, New York, wherever. And then at the end of the course, when we did the excursion to Luxembourg there, well, actually, I applied now, just that I applied now in Luxembourg. So yeah, I think that happens very often to us. Yeah.
Mhm. You are a professor for several years and a lawyer even for longer. Have these young graduates changed their perspective to work, to their interest to work in finance, or the place they put work in their life? If I'm asking, it's because we do have some discussions also with leaders of big companies from Luxembourg that see some generational shifts, and we all know these generations. They come with names, the millennials and the Zs and Ys. Have you noticed significant changes in the students that come through your hands?
I have to say, not really. I think for that, maybe I'm myself not old enough that I have seen a shift in the trend of the students. From my perspective, I think the sort of the type of students that want to come to Luxembourg is stays the same. I think it's international, dynamic. You want to see something different. You want to have an interesting work, I would say. I think these are the combination of things that always come together, and that makes people, I think, come here. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to share with us any success stories of your students?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of students that work now at Arendt, at Linklaters, at the Big Four. I think there's quite some. If I can give a particular example, I had she was actually my first year. It was a bachelor, so my course is open to bachelor and master students. As a bachelor student, it's a bit harder. But she was brilliant. I mean, she graduated very well. Went after the course to Cambridge for a year, did her master's there, and then decided that she had opportunities in London as well, but she really wanted to start working. It's in the private equity field here in Luxembourg, and that she does. So yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunities here in Luxembourg. So and that's why I think also plenty of success stories in the end. Well, at least from my students, because I see always, I'm still in touch with them, so I see a little bit what they're doing, and I would say across the board, people are happy. I think it's a bit also what Afonso already said. I mean, okay, for you it's the first week, but the feedback I generally get is, I mean, working again. I think the work-life balance here is good. You have the opportunity to work on interesting files, and so people stay here. I have a lot of my students generally they come, they stay, and I think yeah, that stays.
Mm-hmm. As you said, there are a lot of opportunities and a big interest from newcomers here in Luxembourg. So would you like to share any advices, like the advices that were given to your students that are willing to come and work here?
Yeah, sure. I think, well, one main advice which I would give is, well, as I see Luxembourg is there's a lot of opportunities here. If to give a concrete example is if you want to start, for example, and now this is of course legal field, but if you want, and I can imagine this is very similar in other places, if you want to start, I think at something like Clifford Chance in London, I think there's probably 300 people applying for one position. If you apply to Clifford Chance in Luxembourg, there's by far not as many people applying for the same job. So I think the opportunity to get a very nice job in Luxembourg, I think is rather high. if you have to work with nevertheless, but I think it's very high. So that means here, I think, because it's a demand market, right? Here, I mean, it's booming. So there's always the need for new people. And that's why they're looking, they're always looking. So it's for you also there to go out there, see the opportunities and to just take the opportunities, right? But to what I want to come with this is also reflect well on what you really want, because Big Four is not Big Four. There are larger firms, there are smaller firms. They all have a particular, I would say, culture and these kind of things. So I think an important thing is when you come to Luxembourg, don't just say, hey, I want to work for whatever. Make sure that this is also really the time where you want to work. Check the team. Do I like the team? Do I like the boss? Are these people? Because at the end of the day, you need to work with them on a daily basis. And this is, I think it's important that you make these checks, to really make sure that when you arrive, this is really also what you want to do. You can change afterwards, always, I mean, that's for sure. But I think to have a nice start here, just take this extra step and really feel a little bit whether this is the right job or whether there's another one which might just fit better to you. And there's no right or wrong. I think it's just a type question or character question. To one person, one thing fits, into another. So it's just something you have to find out for yourself.
Great, Thomas, thank you. I have one question for Irene. Hey, can I ask you, which was the picture that you had regarding Luxembourg before you moved here to work with Ilavska?
Sorry, which was the first?
The image that you had for Luxembourg before you moved here.
A small country.
That's all?
No, actually, yes. As Thomas was saying, and thank you, Thomas, it was super interesting, your speech. As Thomas was saying, actually, yes, Luxembourg, I've always thought it was full of opportunities and full of interesting jobs and interesting people, and also because it's full of finance, and the finance field is what I do. So it's, from my point of view, it was a very good starting point also for students, for example, as Thomas was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was my perception at the beginning.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was asking about the generational shift before, and Thomas mentioned that he doesn't see that much. Of course, Afonso and Irene, you might not have the perspective of the shift, but how many are students still interested in finance? And in finance, is it for them a very blurred area, or as we try to promote more and more certain areas of finance, which in our case is private equity and alternative investments, can students that are studying in the university, they have a more general curricula, how can they be exposed to specific areas of finance? How can we, as an association and as a country, attract more people to become interested for private equity specifically?
First of all, I think advertisements. I mean, you have to show up yourself, otherwise no one will see you through the social networks, because today social networks are very, very used from teenagers and also people in the 20s. But also I think that many people also, for example, from my university, there were so many guys, so many girls that were interested in finance, in private equity, in venture capital, also in accounting. So I knew a lot of people that they started their career in one of the big four, and they are as an auditor, for example, and now they are senior analyst or in these views. So I think yes, they are interested, and I think today yesterday, talking in the past, is much more easier to get in touch with the recruiters, with the private equity firm, with the investment funds, because we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter, we have so many tools to get in touch with these people and with these firms and with the companies. So I think we only have to be proactive, and we only have to be brave to send that message, because we don't have to be shy to send a message to a recruiter on Instagram. No, sorry, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Maybe one day there will be recruiters also on Instagram, who knows? So be brave and be proactive. Don't be shy, and do it and try again, because if it doesn't work, you can do it another time, because it doesn't cost anything to you. You just have to send a message or an email or whatever.
Also, how many of your friends know what private equity is?
Maybe not too many, I would say. I mean, I personally speaking, I agree with Irene and also what Thomas had said in terms of networking. I think it's absolutely the most important thing in Luxembourg, because although it has so many companies and it's so big in that sense, it is a small country. You know, just speaking, for example, of Kirchberg, you know, you have all these companies one like tram stop away, and that's a little bit how Luxembourg is in a way. Sometimes it's just that one message, like Irene said, that can take you to your next opportunity, and it's very easy to grow in that sense, as long as you continuously network. And for example, for private equity, personally, I also didn't know too much about it until I went to the LPEA's last year job fair, and then that made me more interested in the field, for instance. And now I'm, you know, it's something that I consider I could have a career in, something that actually interests me. So, you know, from then on, you just kind of do your own research. But to speak on, I guess, yeah, my colleagues from university and things like that, at least from my bachelor perspective, I noticed that there was, at least from a business background, a lot of people nowadays lean towards marketing, for instance. You know, as Irene said, with all the social medias, it's really an industry that attracts a lot of people nowadays. But I feel like there is, I mean, I can only speak on my generation, I guess, and, you know, a few years older, a few years younger. But I do still have a few friends that are very interested in private equity, VC, and they're really interested. You know, they do their research, they try to stay up to date. So I guess you see a little bit of both ends of the spectrum, people that, you know, really aren't interested in it at all, even though they have a business background, economics background, whatever, and people that kind of already know that that's something that they're interested in. But I also think it's still you know, a growing industry and area, so it's also maybe a bit more normal that people perhaps my age that haven't really had too much job experience know too much about private equity or VCs in that case.
Do you think that more specialized information should be available in the main courses that you have, in the main subjects that you subject?
I mean, personally, I would highly enjoy that. Yeah, I think it should be just like, for example, in a business setting, they do have, you know, like I said, marketing, that have operations, that have all these kind of things. And for instance, for finance, it's a very simple corporate finance course. So it could be very interesting to have something, even just through an elective form, or yeah, I don't even say mandatory course, but something more specific, yeah, like focus on private equity. I think that would be very interesting, and it would definitely drive more people towards, you know, exploring it at least through a course. And also I wanted to add one more thing. For instance, you asked about how can you get people more engaged. I mean, I think, for example, LPEA is a great source. You know, you guys publish a lot, and through you, then it's also easier to access other sources. So yeah, I think, you know, keeping up with the news from an association of what you're interested in is also, you know, a great way to keep attracting people. So, you know, the more you post, also the more interaction you'll get. So yeah, in that sense, it's a repetitive cycle, I guess.
I think you're speaking of the LPEA summer party, Afonso.
Yeah, I think you should throw more of those.
But as you said, and actually as was discussed in one of our earlier panels here, it's about networking. So what about networking and knowing what other people do and understanding their jobs and understanding which areas of the market are most promising and are growing and are recruiting, and also preparing your career to face those opportunities, of course.
And you, Thomas, any comments?
Yeah, I think it's, well, I can only from my side say I think I support all the ideas that were just circled. I think it could make, so I would say, or maybe an additional cooperation indeed with universities, because I think often universities are maybe themselves not completely aware of this area because they don't have an expert as a teacher that is able to do it. So they are not aware of themselves. So I think including it in university courses can be and would be great. In my this of course, but because I think an issue is, and maybe you two, Afonso, you can say that better than I do, but I think a problem, I guess, as a student is also, you might know what private equity is, but it's not tangible, right? So the point is everyone talks about it a little bit, but then if you say, hey, I'm interested in and I would like to work in this area, then it's okay, but what would I actually work? And how can I get there? So, and I think in order to make this step, if this is more integrated in university courses, then I could imagine that students have a clearer path where they can go in order to work in private equity, right? So, and that's why I would definitely support this, yes.
Yeah, I can just say that I definitely agree with what you just said, Thomas. I think that's often the hardest part about it in the beginning is trying to grasp what it is, and that's maybe also, as you said, one of the biggest reasons why it doesn't attract as many people, and perhaps universities haven't really invested in it either.
We were also discussing today with Gabriela in our first session that it's important for people to have a career perspective. And she also noted that this is not easy for younger people, the 20s, 20, 25, even 30 years old, to have, but it's very important to prepare your career, your future, the road you want to follow. Do you have an idea of what is the career that you want to pursue?
Should I start?
Yes,
okay, I'll be the first. I think it's very important what you said, because it's important to have a perspective of your career, such as of your life, because your career is also part of your life. So I think that one of the most important things in this field, I mean, is also mentoring, because it's very important to have such a guru in your life, but a work experienced person that can help you to understand what you want and what you want in your career, in your future, in your what should be your career path. And also because we are all different, all the individuals are different, so all the people has a different career path, of course, and you have to build up your own. And I think one of the most important things I've done with my really small and tiny career I've been talking with people, have a kind of mentors in my life, because I really want to explain which are my points, my future points in my career. So I think this is a very, very good starting point for a person that is starting his own career.
I agree with you. Yeah, we discussed this in the morning, that it's very useful to have someone to help you to build your image, your network, to advise you in several matters.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and there are some companies that do this mentorship program, and I think it's very useful. Very useful. Yeah.
So as we mentioned with Afonso, well, not many of his friends are in private equity. So when you enter a job, an area, it's very common that you don't know that many people in that sector. And so it's important to
be involved.
To be involved, get the support
Yes.
of those who are more experienced, who know how different paths can be taken, or where the opportunities lie ahead. Thomas, do many of your students rely on you as a mentor?
Yes and no. I mean, the whole program that I do is set up a bit in this way. So the idea is not that people should be taught knowledge and they should learn certain skills, but a big part of the course is exactly this part that they can be in touch with me, of course, but with all other speakers. If you go to Luxembourg, for example, also the LPEA, and get this bit of mentorship in the sense that they're guided a bit along this way. In the best scenario, maybe don't do all mistakes. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, definitely. And I think it's nice. I think it's probably also one of the reasons why I have this let's say side job at Maastricht University, because I think it's great. I have each year new students, and it's all great personalities, and I think it's great to see how people from there get to Luxembourg or somewhere else, and how they move along their paths. I think it's a great thing. So yeah. And if I can do one small promotion, the course, so it's online basically, it's for free, so nobody has to pay. The application window starts on 15th of October, and it runs from January to June. So if anyone, and it's open for anyone. So
we're going to share this in our upcoming newsletter.
Great.
Thank you. I think we went through the time we had available. So if I can do it, so can you. Irene, any last comment to the others who are, right now looking for a new job challenge because they are working already, or they want to find the first job opportunity? Do you have a last call or a piece of advice that you want to deliver here?
Yes, of course. My advice is, as I said before, be proactive, do it, try, and if it doesn't work, try again, because you can apply to many companies and they can refuse you, but you can still try with other companies. So if it is really your dream, you can make it true. It seems a very simple sentence, but actually don't think that something is impossible, because you can try, you can do it, and LPEA is a very good starting point.
Thank you, Irene.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess I can speak more to people that are looking for their kind of first job opportunity and starting. Yeah, I mean, be active, connect with people, attend events. That's also a really great way to meet people, sign up for things. And also, I mean, don't just, work on your hard skills, try to also work on your soft skills, because those are very valued. When you come into companies, you're going to be with lots of other people that perhaps have the same, they can also do Excel, they have the same degree as you. So, you got to kind of stand out in some way. So yeah, work on yourself, work on your soft skills, and yeah, be confident.
Okay, thank you. Thomas, I think you already have your last remarks. Any last comment?
Well, what could I still, maybe aim high. You can always aim, if it doesn't succeed, you can always go a step lower. But I would always say aim as high as possible and just see what gets out. And good luck to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, for those that are with us, the different recruiters are still there in the forum. So I incentivize you to go there and discover the opportunities they have. Evie, do you want to say?
Yes, spend your
Something.
last 40-45 minutes in the platform proactively, and if you don't go to the mountain will not come to you. So as the guy said today, you have to try every day for your dreams, and I'm sure that you can manage it.
If I can just add this last sentence, something, if I can help you in some way, please, you can text me, add me on LinkedIn or whatever. If I can help you,
See, we have a mentor
pleasure.
here already.
No, I'm not. But if I can help you, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Afonso. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you for sharing this day with us. It has been very amusing to have these discussions. They will also be available in
On
our
YouTube channel, yes, next
later
week.
on. So see you around.
Thank you.
Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.